What's for dinner, Paul Lynde? Hey everybody, Small G Gay continuing with another segment for my Vlogapalooza in substitute of a radio program this evening. This is quite nice because I get to kind of do it at my own pace for a change. I don't have to worry about those live situations. But hopefully Blog Talk will be working against it. It may even be working in time for this evening. But I'm going to do this just in case, and I think I'm going to air these as well anyway because I like that first one I did with Carol Brady as the picture. You guys, I'm going to be getting a new phone soon. What's going to happen? I'm going to have higher production values. Although I've tried to make a style of my limitations, and you can see where I am, almost at 2,500 Twitter followers because of it. The things we brag about. Hello, Just Another Mo. Hello, J.L. Thorpe. Hello, all my gang. Rush Limbang, Steve Politic. So, a debate. Something Fishy. Patriot Mom, Two Boys. Gothic Reader. All of my listeners, hello and welcome to tonight's second segment. I mentioned in my last vlog about how the situation with Ann Romney is so important because this is about an ongoing battle that conservative women have had to put up with, their constant degradation at the hands of the left. And this is really kind of getting watershed as our racial issues starting to really be strained. Simply because the Democrat Party has called everybody racist so many times. I think that they're on their, 500th go round of who's racist and who's not with this Trayvon Martin shooting, which is another ridiculous situation. I'm not the shooting, which was sad, but the way it's been played for cheap points, cheap gain, political hay, and something's going to have to happen with gays, too. I don't know when, I don't know how. Maybe Donnie McClurkin will be asked to perform again soon. That would be great. I know a lot of Obama supporters really love Donnie McClurkin. You know what I'm saying? I don't understand that whole ex-gay thing. I used to have this guy on my show. He was like a, I don't know, I think he's like a fan of Tammy Bruce or something. I don't know, he's San Francisco. We'll call him San Francisco. And he was really into the ex-gay thing. I'm like, just take cold showers. Why are you even bothering? You know, I mean, what are you going to do? Become straight and not have lust in your heart ever and not do anything wrong? Like, they act like if they're not gay, they'll be sinless. I'm like, hello. Most gays I know, the gay is just the beginning of the sinning, if you ask me. That's just the beginning. That's just the gateway drug, is gay. Don't even get me started. It just doesn't make any sense, you know what I mean? I mean, he acted like if he were heterosexual, like he would have no problems, no temptations whatsoever. And I know that my heterosexual listeners, which is most of you, would consider that a pretty hilarious affair, as everyone struggles with sin and evil in their lives. But anyway, I just think it's the dumbest thing. I think that they should just take cold showers. And after a few years, you're so over it anyway. That's just another Mo. Hi, just another Mo. I mean, you just get to the point where it's like, who cares? I had a young man flirt with me last night who was very young and attractive. And I was telling another friend, I was like, that was enough, you know? I mean, what am I going to do? Have like a ridiculous sexual encounter? And then that gets all depressing and crazy? Like, that young man's going to settle down with a small G gay. Give me a break. It was enough that he was just tempted for me. That's more than enough that he was flirted a little bit. I have no illusions about having some kind of bizarre, grotesque parody of a heterosexual marriage. I'm sorry, people. I guess I'm old-fashioned. And yet, I always thought of myself as more radical, if you will, on sexual matters. which brings me to the subject of this vlog. I had an interesting discussion last night with a longtime gay activist who'd been in New York since the 70s, and he knew everything about everybody and the history of it all. And we were talking about the gay community in the 70s and 80s. And he was telling me about how so many of the people who had been at Stonewall do not like the current gay community, don't like what it became, basically the ladies' auxiliary of the Democrat Party. And I said, because they were individualists, and he said, yes. And he said, I always say that you had to be crazy to be able to do that. I said, well, I wouldn't call it crazy. And I started thinking about all of this. He was talking about how much, even though he was a liberal, how much he misses the voices of gay conservatives. Maybe he knew who I was, maybe not. He was talking about how he misses the voices of gay conservatives, how they've been forced out of the community, and how he misses the input of gay business. That it just seems like it's all just about Democrats now. And I had to agree with him completely, of course, you know. And he talked about how they gave so much to the community that they added something, you know, I would say, you know, jobs, creativity, growth, atmosphere, culture, you know, I could go on, fashion, fun, hello, fun. And I don't know, I was kind of moved, and then I started thinking about how, and I spoke to, I probably shouldn't say because he's kind of famous, Chris Barron, about this at one time at a Go Proud thing. And he and I were talking about how we felt that the original Stonewall people were libertarian in a lot of ways. And of course, Chris is openly libertarian. I'm not outing him. He's been quite vocal in his libertarian beliefs lately. And I was thinking about that. And I started thinking about how much have conservatives really oppressed gays when you really think about it, compared to what the state has done in this country. The oppression of gays in New York City was primarily coming from two sources. That would be the state, through the police. The police raided these private establishments, and just rounded people up. It was a corrupt system, similar to prostitution. Heavy involvement with organized crime. People were paid off. And that was all about police corruption. And then you had the psychiatric community, which is, of course, the liberal elites. And they declared homosexuality to be a psychological disorder. They were the ones who were sending people to hospitals for electroshock treatment. You know, they were the ones who were declaring people insane. And then you had the liberal press, on top of that, publishing all of these people's names in the newspaper who were arrested during these police raids and ruining their lives. I mean, it was definitely the three pillars of the left that were really destroying gay people. Now, of course, there's the Christian church who's against homosexuality on moral grounds, which I defend their right to do that, and I totally understand where that's coming from. I know that there were a lot of, parents, Christian parents, who are not accepting of their gay and lesbian children, but that's their personal issue. That's their personal conflict within that family. And there's nothing that you can do about that aside from, you know, talking about it, dealing with it. I mean, again, we're looking at a social issue that's best handled the way Sarah Palin would handle it in the social sphere. And ultimately, that's kind of what did it in a lot of ways. The gay community can go on and on about this, that, and the other thing, all their victories. I would add that they couldn't possibly have been oppressed that badly to have overcome everything so quickly. I mean, there was never a point where gays couldn't vote, for example. It's nothing compared to what Americans who happen to be black have endured in this country. And I would add that it's nothing compared to what women have had to endure in this country. You know, Um, but ultimately, that whole situation, I mean, I think it was AIDS more than anything, and people talking about it, coming out of the closet, so to speak, people, talking about these issues, meeting people. A lot of that has to do with the media, first media, and now the internet. And I think that social arena, that social sphere, is where the gay victory has been won, if you can call it a victory at all. So I don't think it has to do with any laws. I don't think it has to do with anything that Democrats have done whatsoever. I don't give Democrats any credit whatsoever. In fact, I think that they should really answer for all of those years, decades, where they persecuted gays. Anyway, those are some of my thoughts on the gay issue. I'll have one final bombshell segment after this. But thanks, everybody, and good night, Pauline.